Hello my dear friends, welcome back to Chandan Logic's English YouTube channel. My name is Sham. In this session, we are going to spend a little time, a very short time on reading comprehension. We have received requests from many students to conduct some more extra sessions on reading comprehensions because reading comprehension is a section that needs a lot of motivation and guidance. Usually it is a tough section because we need to read the whole passages. Even though there are some tricks and shortcuts, what matters the most is your reading skills. You have to read fast, you have to understand fast. Upon the request of many students in the recent times, we have decided to conduct more and more sessions on reading passages. So there is an undue change in the schedule of this session. We actually planned this morning, but we have shifted to this afternoon because of some technical issue, but that doesn't matter. This session is going to be permanently on the YouTube channel. If not in the live session, you can watch this session anytime whenever you are free. Reading comprehension is all about understanding skills and reading speed. So my dear friends, as you already know, Chandan Logics offers you this free course where there are 7,000 plus practice questions. And even here, if you observe the 8th topic, reading comprehension, there are many practice questions. So I want you to practice this question. My dear friends, police students can get English classes here. Friends, if you see this reading comprehension, it talks about corruption. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to read the paragraph very fast so that you will get the motivation and inspiration. You will get the motivation and inspiration to read with the same speed, because ultimately what is important is your reading speed is very important. The right procedure is you have to see the questions first. You see the questions first and then actually you read the passage. Okay. But before I start the reading process, I would like to give you exactly 120 seconds of your time. If you can't read this in 120 seconds, then your reading speed is very low. So start the reading process now. You 120 seconds, start now. Read as fast as possible, my dear friends. Quick now. Start now. Time up, my dear friends. Now I am going to read this article very fast. I want you to observe. I want you to observe the speed that I am reading with and the way I understand it. Corruption in politics is rarely the consequence of a few inherently dishonest individuals. Rather, it is often the manifestation of institutional weakness, opaque decision making, inadequate accountability, and a political culture in which pursuit of power becomes inseparable from the accumulation of private wealth. So he started with the definition why in politics corruption is there. He is saying that corruption is not because of bad people. So then why? Is corruption not because of bad people? No, not all the time. He is saying that corruption is not because of bad people. He is saying that corruption is because of these reasons. What are the reasons? Reason number 1, institutional weakness, bad decision making, inadequate accountability, and political culture. These are the reasons why corruption starts. Okay. So why is corruption found in politics? This is the point he is talked about. Now move forward. In democratic societies, elections are ostensibly designed to ensure that political authority derives from the consent of the government. Yet, when electoral competition becomes prohibitively expensive, political actors may increasingly depend on undisclosed contributions, corporate interests, intermediate and even illicit sources of income. Naturally, the resulting relationship between money and political influence can gradually distort the very principles that democratic institutions are expected to uphold. The problem becomes particularly insidious when corruption ceases to appear exceptional and begins to acquire a veneer of normality. Now I'll explain from here to here. In the very first sentence, he said, why is corruption found in politics? It's not because of bad people, it's because of bad system. Now the second point he's trying to say, today politics has become a costly affair. If you want to contest as MLA, you need to be Karodpati, correct? So naturally, if you contest as MLA and you invest a lot of money in that, naturally if you win as MLA, if you lose, no problem. If you win as MLA, then the problem starts. You want to earn all that money, whatever you invested in the process of elections. You want to earn that money. So naturally, the politicians now will have some agreements with rich people, corporate companies, fundraisers, donors. Now they all become a corrupted group. Today we have reached a stage where corruption became a normality. Okay, that is the second point. Now third point. A politician who distributes patronage to supporters, bends administrative procedures for influential associates, or manipulates public contracts may justify such conduct as merely pragmatic. Once such rationalizations become widespread, citizens may begin to perceive corruption not as an aberration but as an unavoidable feature of political life. This creates a vicious cycle. Public cynicism reduces pressure for reform, weakens institutional resistance, and consequently provides greater opportunities for corrupt practices. Political corruption has also the consequence that extend far beyond the financial loss to public exchequer. The meaning of the last sentence is, if politicians are corrupted, they not only destroy the country's economy. If country's economy is destroyed, your money and my money, everybody's money is destroyed. And the above sentence he said, today people have accepted corruption as a normal procedure. Because of this high level of corruption, nobody is accepting a change. Today if any politician comes and says, I don't encourage corruption, people will not vote for him, unfortunately, because people also have indirectly become a part of the corruption. So this is the beautiful essay he is talking about. The game is not over, my dear friends. I want you to pause the video. I want you to read this for 120 more seconds, because the purpose of today's session is I want you to read. So exactly 120 seconds time from here to here, read as fast as you can. Your time starts now, 120 seconds. If you don't read in 120 seconds, your reading speed is very low. Fast. Start now. Okay, time up. When government contracts are awarded on the basis of political proximity rather than competence, infrastructure projects may become inefficient, overpriced, or dangerously substandard. Do you understand the meaning of the sentence? For example, there is a contract. For example, there is a flyover. There is a flyover to be built. Now, government has to give this contract to somebody. Normally, what we expect the government to do? We expect the government to give this contract to somebody who is capable, who is genuine, who is honest and expert in flyover construction. But government doesn't do that. The ruling party which is in the government, what does it do? It gives this contract to some engineering company which actually had donated funds to the party before the elections. That was the deal. That is the deal. Contracts is common. I think everybody knows, no? Contracts is a common form of corruption. Now this engineering company which is already corrupted, why will it construct a strong flyover? So suddenly after 5 years the flyover will collapse, people will die. So that is the meaning of the sentence. When regulatory decisions are influenced by private interests, markets stop functioning on a level play field. Entrepreneurs who refuse to participate in corrupt networks may find themselves disadvantaged, while those willing to cultivate political connections acquire unfair advantage. Thus, corruption can undermine not only governance but also economic dynamism and public trust. Now, for example, if I say, I don't want to encourage corruption, nobody will talk to me. Everybody will say, Shyam sir is doing overaction. If Shyam sir says, I will be like Ramanujan, you know Ramanujan in the movie Aparichit. There is a Vikram's movie, Shankar's movie Aparichit. If I say I want to be Ramanujan, I don't want to be a part of this corrupted society, then nobody will talk to me, nobody will respect me, everybody will hate me, and I will not get job also. Okay? So corruption has become a part of the system, unfortunately. Combating political corruption therefore requires more than periodic arrests or highly publicized investigations. Such measures may create the impression of action without addressing the structural incentives that perpetuate misconduct. Transparent political financing, independent oversight institutions, effective disclosure requirements, protection for whistleblowers, speedy judicial. My dear friends, if you observed, here he is talking about solutions. See, from here he is talking about solutions. Transparent financing, oversighting institutions, disclosing requirements, protecting the whistleblowers, speedy judgments, greater transparency. See, these are all the solutions. Equally important is the willingness of citizens to scrutinize political claims rather than treating electoral promises as substitutes for institutional accountability. Ultimately, corruption thrives. Thrives means develops. Corruption develops where power is concentrated without adequate scrutiny and where citizens become resigned to misconduct. Democratic governance cannot be reduced to the act of voting every few years. It also requires continuous vigilance between elections. A politically informed electorate, a professional bureaucracy, independent institutions and robust civil society can collectively ensure that public office remains position of responsibility rather than conduit for private enrichment. I think that this last sentence is a fantastic sentence. Everybody should have a position of responsibility. No, everybody cannot try for personal enrichment. So, my dear friends, he has started this article with corruption, problem, reason for the corruption, reason for the problem. Then he ended with solution. Okay. Now, my job is over. Now your job begins. My dear friends, quick answers. I have explained this to you in a very simple language. Even though I read it fast, but I explained to you easily. Now I want your answers to you. So direct vocabulary. What is the meaning of the word insidious, my dear friends? What is the meaning of the word insidious? You know, insidious means very, very, very harmful, dear. When we say insidious, something which is very, very harmful, slowly harmful. You drink alcohol, you will not die immediately. But when you drink alcohol, you will die after some time. Slow poison. So insidious means what, my dear friends? Slow poison. Insidious means slow poison. What is the meaning of the word veneer? Direct vocabulary, dear. These two questions are direct vocabulary. Veneer. The meaning of the word veneer is a superficial appearance. Veneer means a superficial appearance, which is not permanent. It is quite temporary. Veneer is a superficial appearance. Again, vocabulary. Exchequer. Nice question. I think banking students would know this easily. Exchequer. What is the meaning of exchequer, dear? What is the meaning of exchequer, dear? What is the meaning of exchequer? Who is called exchequer? Only we, the public. Public treasury. Exchequer is public. money related to public. Exchequer is money related to public. My dear friends, according to the passage, expensive electoral competition can encourage politicians to, tell me, imagine there is a expensive electoral competition, which means an MLA or an MP spent crores of money to win. So what is the consequence of that? What will he do now? Expensive electoral competition will encourage politicians to, yes, depend on undisclosed incomes. They will start earning money secretly. They will start avoiding paying taxes. They will start earning money secretly. Undisclosed income, secret money. As a bank job aspirant, especially PO level job aspirant, your reading speed is very important. The purpose of this session is that when I read the passages, when I read the sentences, you observe how I read, how confidently I read, how fast I read, and how clearly I understand. Your reading skills and can't be improved in 1 day or 2 days. You need rigorous practice for that. What is described as vicious cycle? Wow, what a nice question. Can you try answer? Can you try the answer? According to the paragraph, what is a vicious cycle? Yes, my dear friends. What is a vicious cycle here? What is a vicious cycle here? See, now corruption happens. Because of corruption, people will have no belief, people will have no trust on government. Now, if the government wants to make any reforms also, people will say, we don't trust you, we don't believe you. That is why again more and more corruption happens. It's like a vicious cycle. Corruption leads to a lack of trust. And when there is no trust, no change will happen. And no change, corruption will again happen. Sixth question. Which of the following is not mentioned as a consequence of political corruption? Any guess? Answer? Any guess? Which of the following is not mentioned as a consequence of political corruption? See, if political corruption happens, infrastructure projects are bad. Yes, this is correct. This is correct. If corruption happens, markets are disturbed. Correct. If corruption happens, entrepreneurs don't get opportunities. If corruption happens, public trust is gone. So these are all consequences. But he said not. And this is the answer. So the answer is the E option. If corruption happens, increase in bureaucratic independence, no. That is a different case. If corruption happens, why will the bureaucratic independence increase? There is no relation directly at all. So that is the outcome. That is not the sequence. That is not the consequence. That option is a wrong option. That option is wrong. But option is right. Answer is this. But what I am saying is the meaning is wrong. Okay. Again, we have a few more questions on corruption. Question number 7, guys. Can you try the 7th and 8th question? Can you try the 7th and 8th question? I'm giving you 60 seconds. Can anybody in the comment section message 7th answer and 8th answer at a time? 60 seconds max. Seventh and 8th. What is the 7th question talking about, my dear friends? Why does the author argue that arrests alone cannot efficiently combat political corruption? Why? What is the reason, dear? Why did the author say that? For example, some politicians are corrupted. You arrest them. What is the problem? Tell me, what is the problem? What is the problem? Guys, the problem is, if you simply arrest a person, that is individual case. But what about the structure? If a politician is corrupted, it doesn't mean he's personally involved. He was involved as a community. He was involved as a system. So only if you arrest that politician, maybe that person will be in jail for 4 months, but corruption cannot stop. See, I'll tell you a secret. Corruption can never happen with one person. Correct? Corruption can never happen with one person. Minimum 2 people and hundreds of people. Which of the following is the inference from the paragraph? Answer please. 8th question, answer please. So what is the main inference that you can draw from the passage? Corruption disappears? No, never it happens. Sorry to say. Economic growth is impossible in democratic country. Arey yaar, who said that? Political corruption can weaken. This is the right answer. Political corruption weakens the competition. Everybody will start saying, okay, only rich people, only corrupted people will be successful. Others are not successful. So political corruption can weaken fair competition in Indian economy. See, if corruption is huge, competition will die. Only the corrupted people will get the opportunities. Like I have given you one example, no? The company which is already corrupted and donated funds to the government before the elections will only get the contracts. That company will only get the tenders. That kills the competition. Or everybody starts becoming corrupted. Correct? Okay. Again, I'm giving you 60 seconds, students, 60 seconds. Can you try the question 9 and 10? Yes, my dear friends. What does the author consider essential for? Now he is talking about the solution. Anti-corruption steps. What are the anti-corruption steps? We have very clearly discussed. Transparency there should be some good level of transparency. Transparency is important. Independent oversight, institutional accountability. You remember when I was reading the paragraph, I have explained the same to you. Transparency should, transparency should be encouraged. Institutional oversight should come. Okay, independent oversight should come. That is the solution. Now, finally, what do you think about the central idea of the passage? He never said political corruption is unavoidable. He never said. Oh my God. Vishnu, see the second sentence. He is saying elections are the primary cause of corruption. Oh my goodness. Economic development produces corruption. What is that nonsense? Political parties should be abolished. Then there is no democracy, no? The central idea of the passage is political corruption is a structural problem requiring institutional reforms and continuous public vigilance. So you can't avoid the political parties completely. What you have to do maximum is you need to understand the fundamental fact. Structural problems are there. Institutional reforms must happen. Structural loopholes have to be solved. See, again and again I say this, don't mind please. Reading passage in banking exams does not have too many shortcuts. Maybe out of the 10 questions, 3, 4 or maybe maximum 5 questions can be answered just like that. But the remaining 5 marks decide your destiny. And to get those 5 marks, there is no shortcut. You have to read the passages as fast as possible. You have to understand the passages as best as possible. My dear friends, we will try one more. Before that, Chandan Logics offers you the Kingmaker. You can take this opportunity. 0 to Hero 2.0 batches are waiting for you. CHSL students get the best guidance and 6.0 Champions batch. Now here we are talking about freedom of expression. Can you try this in 120 seconds? Take it as a challenge. Take up the challenge. 120 seconds. Read whatever you see on the screen. 120 seconds. Freedom of speech is frequently described as one of the indispensable foundations of democratic society. Yet its practical meaning is considerably more complicated than the simple assertion that individuals should be permitted to say whatever they wish. Everybody knows freedom of speech is very important, but many people think freedom of speech means just the right to talk whatever you want to talk. No, there is something bigger than that. A society committed to free expression must confront an enduring dilemma. How can it protect the individual's right to criticize institutions, challenge prevailing beliefs, and expose governmental wrongdoing while simultaneously preventing speech from becoming an instrument of intimidation, incitement, or deliberate deception? The difficulty arises partly because speech does not occur in a vacuum. Words can influence behavior, share public perception, and alter the distribution of social power. A journalist exposing corruption may use speech to strengthen democratic accountability, whereas a coordinated campaign of fabricated information may exploit the same communicative freedom to undermine public confidence in legitimate institutions. Consequently, defending freedom of speech cannot simply mean removing every restriction on expression. It requires careful consideration of the circumstances in which restrictions may be justified and authorities responsible for imposing them. An especially contentious dimension of the debate is the emergence of digital platforms where information can circulate at extraordinary speed and reach millions of people before its authenticity is established. Algorithms designed primarily to maximize engagement may inadvertently amplify sensational or emotionally provocative material. A false claim that would once have remained confined to a small circle can now acquire immense visibility within hours. See how fast I read it, how clearly I read it, and how passionately I was reading it, how well I was able to understand. I want you to develop that ability to read the sentences fast. That ability comes through practice. The meaning is very simple, dear. Point number 1. Freedom of speech is important. But freedom of speech is not about I want to talk whatever I want to talk. No. Even I have some restrictions. Even I have some responsibilities. I have some limits. I simply can't talk whatever I want to talk. Number 1. So there should be some strong debates on this. How to balance this freedom of speech again with ethics and morals. Because if everybody has got freedom of speech excessively, people start abusing, people start using vulgar language, people start reprimanding each other, people start blaming Narendra Modi, people start blaming Rahul Gandhi, people start blaming President of India in a vulgar language. That's not freedom of speech. But again, if you remove freedom of speech, then there is no point at all. So we should balance it well. How to balance the freedom of speech? Now, one more bigger problem is today we have lots of technology, information, digital information. Anybody creates some wrong news, goes fast to many people, and many people believe that the wrong news is right, and they start commenting on it. Once upon a time, there was no this level of technology. The communication was slow, but now communication is very fast. So rumors also spread very fast. So this is the meaning of the sentence. I hope you understood now. Okay, can you try this? Fix a target, 120 seconds. Guys, fast. Don't give up. Don't give up hope. Motivate yourself. Push your limits. My dear friends, push your limits. Don't be lazy to read. 120 seconds, your time starts now. My dear friends, what did he say? The challenge is therefore not merely technological but institutional. Societies must determine who should decide what constitutes harmful misinformation, what safeguards should exist against arbitrary censorship, and how citizens can distinguish legitimate criticism from manipulative propaganda. Excessive regulation, however, can be dangerous. Governments that possess broad and vaguely defined powers to suppress harmful or offensive speech may eventually employ those powers against journalists, activists, political opponents, or minority voices. Once the state acquires unchecked authority to determine which opinions are permissible, freedom of expression can gradually become conditional upon political conformity. The suppression of dissent may produce an outward appearance of social harmony while concealing deep grievances that may have been denied an avenue of expression. I explained till here. I'll explain half of the paragraph. So he says, now the problem is with freedom of speech. Freedom of speech also must have limits. So the solution, vocal cord is paining. So Sai says, vocal cord is paining. You are reading it out. You are not reading within mind. I am reading out because faculty has to read the paragraph aloud. My voice can have pain. Why are you reading out? You're also reading out. It's good actually, It's good that when you read out rather than reading in mind. Okay. So the meaning of the exercise is freedom of speech is important. You can't remove it, but again you can't leave it like that, because if you leave it like that, people will cross limits. Now the solution is institutional changes must happen. Okay. Now the question is, who decides it? Who will decide the limit of freedom of speech? Somebody should decide. And who is that person to decide? Again, if he decides, some people will say, no, you are wrong. In democracy, everybody has his own rights, no? So the problem is, censorship is a problem. How to decide this censorship? How to decide this censorship? Again, if you are over criticizing, if you are putting too much of strict regulations, that kills the purpose of democracy. That kills the purpose of democracy. Again, if you don't worry about it, a lot of people will start talking in a harmful, offensive speeches. They start spreading very vulgar, provoking lectures on social media. So that is the dilemma he is talking about. Okay. Now the solution. See, so far he was talking only on problem. Now the solution came. The solution lies neither in unrestricted expression nor indiscriminate censorship. He is saying you don't have to put too much of strict rules, or you can't give too much of freedom. Balance. He is saying some balance is needed. Democratic societies require narrowly defined legal restrictions. Legal restrictions are important, but narrowly defined, not very strict regulations. Independent institutions capable of reviewing state action, transparent platform policies, media literacy, and this is important. See, media literacy. So, guys, now solutions here. Solution number 1, solution number 2, and solution number 3, solution number 4, and of course, solution number 5. 5 solutions. Now, the conclusion. Freedom of speech is meaningful not because every statement is true or beneficial, but because of the ability to question authority and contest dominant narratives provide society with a mechanism for correcting its own errors. Ultimately, the strength of free speech is measured not by how comfortably society tolerates, but by how confidently it accommodates unpopular, inconvenient dissenting ones. The protection of expression is consequently not merely a privilege granted to agreeable voices. It is a safeguard against intellectual stagnation and unchecked authority. Democracy protects speech only when it is harmless, may discover that it has protected permissions rather than freedom. This is the main line. A democracy that protects speech only when it is harmless may discover too late it has protected permission rather than freedom. So on the whole, he is trying to say that freedom of speech is important. You can't say no to freedom of speech, number 1. Number 2, he is also trying to say that, but this freedom of speech cannot be given too much of freedom. In that case, everybody starts talking rubbish. And again, number 3, he is also saying freedom of speech cannot be put too much of rules and regulations that kills the purpose of democracy. He is saying 5 solutions. Solution number 1, we need to have legal restrictions which are narrow. Number 2, India should have some independent institutions not related to government, private institutions, separate institutions, autonomous. Number 3, every platform policies should be transparent and people should have a lots of media literacy. And finally, last but not the least, citizens. We have to be very careful. We have to be very careful. Okay, that's the meaning of the essay. So I thoroughly enjoyed while I was reading this article about freedom of speech. Now, let's begin the show. Question number 11. Easy question. What is the synonym of the word indispensable? You remember, guys, indispensable means very, very, very important. Indispensable means very, very, very important. Essential. Indispensable means something that you can't remove, something you can't stop. What is the meaning of the word incitement? Guys, any answer? What is the meaning of the word incitement? Any answer? Hey guys, incitement. Provoke. Incite means provoke. You are provoking somebody, inciting. Incite means you provoke something. Directly or indirectly, you are provoking somebody to do something. That's called incitement. Number 3. The word indiscriminate as used in the passage means. Guys, what is the meaning of the word indiscriminate? Indiscriminate means carelessly, without care. Without care. So indiscriminate means very, very careless, without care. Where is it? Without care? Yes. Lacking distinction. Very careless. Very careless. Now, 14th question. Why do you think freedom of speech is more complicated than merely allowing people to say anything? Why is freedom of speech more complicated? What is about freedom of speech? What if there are no debates on it? Everybody will start whatever they want to talk. I will say whatever I want to say. You will say whatever you want to say. Everybody will say whatever they want to say. So, why freedom of speech is more complicated? Because the problem is sometimes the speech can influence behavior. Okay? Because in Telugu also there is a saying which I'll translate into English. If you tell a lie 100 times, people will think it is truth. So like that, freedom of speech will definitely have lots of influence on behavior of the society. Okay. Can you try the 15th one? Can you try the 15th one? What role do digital platforms play in the problem discussed? Yes, my dear friends, what is the role? How the digital platforms are creating the problem? They are amplifying sensational and giving false information. Mostly, the digital platforms today create some fake news. That's the problem. Okay. Can you try the 16th question? Why does the author warn against excessive regulation of speech? See, the meaning of the 16th question is, imagine government started putting too much of strict rules on freedom of speech. Then what happens? The same rules government will use to suppress good things also. Government will suppress everybody, whoever talks against them. So government will misuse the rules. Government will start misusing the rules. Okay. Question number 17. Which of the following is not suggested by the author as a part of the solution? Any guess? Guys, any guess? Which of the following is not the solution according to the author? Media literacy is the solution, correct? So not the answer. Transparent platforms, not the answer. Independent review, not the answer. Legal restrictions, not the answer. This is the answer. Author did not mention that as the solution to the problem. Unlimited governmental authority. No. That is not the solution. Okay. That is not the solution. Okay. 18th one. What can be inferred about social harmony created through suppression of dissent? Hey guys. Any guess? You are trying to suppress the dissent and you want to create social harmony. So what will happen because of that? What will happen because of that? It is a negative thing, no? How will it strengthen political conformity? No. It eliminates social grievances. It guarantees, arey bhaiya, it is a negative thing. It is superficial. Temporarily you will solve the problem. But long term, again the problem starts. You can't suppress the dissent. What is the meaning of dissent? Dissent means opposition. If government tries to oppose, if government tries to suppress, if government tries to suppress anybody who is against government, that leads to temporary solution but not the permanent solution. The last two questions, my dear friends. According to the author, the true strength of freedom of speech is demonstrated by, tell me guys, what is the real strength of freedom of speech? What is the real strength of freedom of speech? Any guess? 19th one, any guess? 19th one, any guess? What is the real strength of freedom of speech? What is the real strength of freedom of speech? Yes. Society as a whole, we must tolerate dissenting. So everybody can't agree with me, no. For example, Shyam sir teaches English. Every student doesn't like me. Every student doesn't have to like me. Some like me, some hate me. That's fine. I don't expect everybody to respect me. I don't expect everybody to like me. Because this is democracy. I should accept the dissent. I should accept the dissent. So which of the following is the best captures all? Finally, what does the author want to do? This is what I was talking about from the beginning. You can't completely remove freedom of speech. You can't put too much of strict rules. There should be some balance. This is what I was talking about. We have received lots of requests from many students to conduct sessions on reading comprehensions. And actually we were also surprised. I was also surprised. But then I understood that usually students don't get motivation to do RC unless and until a faculty like me, a person like me, reads the paragraphs with commitment and speed. Maybe that motivates the students. So I have no problem. That's the reason, even though there was some technical glitch, never late than ever, I tried to conduct this session today and I try to maintain that consistency. I hope the session is useful. But at the end of the day, reading comprehension score depends on not the faculty, depends on the students' reading speed and reading skills. Thank you so much. I'll see you again. Have a great day. Thanks for being a part of this